We got BLM and the global network doing mad work to fight for change. ACLU, National Lawyer Skill, using their skills to fight for change. NPAP, no copycat, me like fuck Butag, let's fight for change. Hack Blue, they like what it do, let's go raise the funds to go fight for change. Transgender Law Center, third way funder to that fight for change. Equal Justice Initiative, and no new jails, they can fight for change. Hong Kong and Palestine, yeah, we stand with y'all in the fight for change. Can't donate, then contact your officials to go fight for change. They can even stop and watch and grow over glow tenfolds. They find for peace, the voices speaking, go and heed them to reach peace. Gonna march the streets, so fuck the police and defund the police. Absolute power will absolutely corrupt, so fuck that immunity. All different roles might be out to reach, man, they're with the POC through that red line. They're getting catch the lace sticking, that's fine. Politically see foundations broken, so it's only right to a bill of focus on diversifying ways to respond devotion, giving everything back that was taken stone. The reason why US bankroll be flown to try to scrub history of the dirty moments, instead just reparate. Gave a K to every person, showing there's a way to reparate. Gave money to internment victims, why not do the same? We got BLM and the global network doing mad work to fight for change. ACLU's National Lawyer Skill, using their skills to fight for change. NPAP, no copycat, me like fuck Butag, let's fight for change. Hack Blue, they like what it do, let's go raise the funds to go fight for change. Transgender Law Center, third way funder to that fight for change. Equal Justice Initiative, and no new jails, they can fight for change. Hong Kong and Palestine, yeah, we stand with y'all in the fight for change. Can't donate, then contact your officials to go fight for change. So I'd like to use this platform to provide a bit of historical context to what's going on, and use it to counter some of the divisive rhetoric I'm hearing within the Asian American community. Know what's happening right now is not a cause of like a breakdown of family structure or pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You know, we made it in this society, why can't you? I feel like there's one important thing missing from these arguments, and that's historical context. You know, the world doesn't exist within like a vacuum, so it's doing a huge disservice to one's understanding if we don't take into account the history that shaped the present and continue to do so. So I want to start broad, right? There are two ways wealth is passed down from generation to generation, and that's through inheritance and property tax. Now let's look through American history. There are two groups of people in the beginning of American history, right? There are those who were slaves and those who weren't slaves, and some of the people who weren't slaves were even slave owners. And, you know, there's only one group that can really build up that wealth and pass it down to the next generation through inheritance and property, right? And after that, we had Jim Crow era, where there were a bunch of laws specifically designed to, you know, disenfranchise black people. And again, right, there are people who are able to build and spread that generational wealth and people who can't, right? And also during this time, we had like the grandfather clause, poll tax, but also policing, where they would arrest black people for petty crimes, such as loitering, and they'd build a prison workforce to replace slave labor. And under the 13th Amendment, you know, that form of slavery was legal. And what's even worse is these prisons viewed this labor force as expendable because you keep on replacing it by, like, you know, incarcerating new people. So these people were worked even harder and to death. And after that, we had segregation, right? So it's pretty clear to see that after there was a group of people who were excluded from building generational wealth from the beginning of U.S. history, and instead a barrage of policies were created intending to oppressing them. And like after segregation is something we don't talk about in school, right? When I grew up, it was like after segregation, racism ended. Well, that's not the case, you know? This pattern continued, we just don't teach it in school. Yo, shouts to the Gaijin goons, Sanja, Kenodate, Pong, Nitro, all those fools. Hope y'all doing well, man. I want y'all to vibe to this one. Bounce, bounce. let's go. Yo, you on the year of the dog, while you the year of the bitch. It's the reverse role gold digger with the rich chick. Man, fuck a prenup, bruh. You better listen, and you better not snitch when I'm with the mistress. What? My cootie yawns still be killing these beats, so gotta rack up the body count till they find me as the ones guilty, but still be scot-free and chilling with the par and crime. Shouts to Chris Key. Now can't you see that my 16's a 2D, 20,000 under the sea? While I be doing me, I'm on my sleepy. I'm not normally tooting my own horn, now it's motherfucker beep beep. And speeding up the economic stairs, eating out these overseas and the dollars of millionaires. I'm giving grace and thanks while I'm finding my taste to change class in the fastest time frame. Yo, and we'll talk. I'm so blessed that I can still walk, so can't stop, just going for my goals. And shouts to John for showing how to flow. While tripping I go stumble with the bros in the road to a lot of men I think catch 22s too. I see deep life truths up in every move. As language are limited, but I still want to show to you a fashion of the vibes when dropping with the guy and goose and poo. At the government's live, but dude, no pressure. Man, I'm just doing me, and you keep doing you. I'm on my Lewis and Clark when I got the crew. I'm on my guards to dart, the one that spit advice. And we got inner light, but sometimes they don't even shine. But that's the beauty of humankind, but one to shine. All of the others round to help it at night. So I start to see life as one big invention. Those around us are our co-navigators. So the US government built the suburbs as part of the New Deal, and they mass-produced suburban houses and created suburban neighborhoods. And there was the Federal Housing Administration, which is part of the federal government, which was like created to promote home ownership. And you know, home ownership is really important because let's compare that to renting, right? Home ownership lets you have something to pass on to the next generation, right? And it is a big way to build wealth. And renting is a money sink where you don't really build towards anything. And you know, the Federal Housing Administration would back favorable loans, facilitating home ownership. There's one thing though. These loans were, you know, they excluded black people from procuring these loans. And through this, they artificially created a white middle class. And you also had a plethora of systemic hurdles that black Americans had to navigate through. Like number one, restrictive covenants. And these were committees on segregation with the sole purpose of never selling to black residents. Number two, redlining of districts. You know, in which Federal Housing Administration refused to insure mortgages in black neighborhoods, which denied black citizens from these government-backed mortgages. And that led to number three, predatory lending. You know, there are people who exploited this exclusion through unfairly priced installment plans. After a single missed payment, the house gets repossessed and they trap someone else with the terms. And there's nothing people could do about it because they need to find a way to get home ownership. And there's no money coming to the neighborhoods. There's no money coming through repairs because all the money's focused on repairing, for like the installment plans, and because they have to meet like the high payments. The cost in the suburbs was the same as renting in these neighborhoods. Now, these conditions created by oppressive housing laws led to other problems, right? Our school system is based on property taxes. And if there's not a good stream of property tax coming in, these schools are underfunded. So again, there's educational disparity. And there's no money coming in, your neighborhood is economically deprived, way less job opportunities. And then there's the war on drugs and the prison industrial complex. You know, there's these privately owned prisons whose profits are based on the number of incarcerated people they have. Then there's this war on drugs, where people across racial lines, they use drugs around the same rate. However, black people are incarcerated at a disproportionately higher rate. And when these people are in prison, they're basically used, again, as a slave labor force, paid for cents for an hour. And all this, again, is legal under the 13th Amendment. And as a way of disenfranchising groups of people, right? You just have all these police officers patrolling neighborhoods, locking people up for non-violent petty drug crimes. And now you're building up this prison labor force where people can profit, and it disenfranchises them. And when they come out of prison, it's just really hard to get a job, and it's hard to get reintegrated into society. And so in some states, your voting rights are even taken away. And I feel like that's something we need to really teach in school because it shows that after segregation, these problems still continued. It's not even that long ago.
My name is Sam. I go by Samwise, SMWS without any vowels. And this is my song, Book of Sam. And I hope you enjoy. The pages in my mirror won't turn, so I'm stuck on a part hard to read. I regret I'll forget how to learn, but the dead would be good company. And I'm hating the way that I look, so I unmask my glasses to read and imagine the print in the book worth a sturdier version of me. Wait until I understand that who I was is who I am. I've got a pen but need a hand. I was hiding, now I'm writing from the book of sand. Saving won't end, because sex makes reflections of me. If you go from a foe to a friend, then you were, now I am, we will be. And we'll babble in Babylon's lot, a soul and a boulder apiece. Rebuild what we killed when we fought, reverse the curse from history. Till you understand that who you are is who I am. I've got a thought but need a plan. I was reaching, now I'm teaching from the book of sand. Thank you for listening.
Now let's talk about Asian American history, because that doesn't really get taught, right? So in the way beginning, there were a lot of Asians that were used as slave labor. And again, you hear these horrific stories about, jumping off of ships, being suffocated under the ships. But after slavery is kind of where we see the modern use of the Asian American identity in terms of disenfranchising. After slavery, Asian Americans were used as a vehicle to disenfranchise freed slaves as a cheap labor force driving down wages. And during this time, what's really cool is you see all the instances of Black Asian allyship. When they were discussing the Chinese exclusion bill in the government, Bruce of Mississippi, who was the lone African-American senator, spoke out and voted against discriminatory legislation and showed solidarity, right? Because he realized, like many others, that we're occupying, a very similar space in this society kind of founded on a white-black binary in which, whiteness has power and privilege. And the definition of, is Asian white or Black and legality placed in society, it seems that Asian was treated as Black early on, but granted a somewhat white status when it worked to displace African Americans. Asian Americans basically served as a bridge between whiteness and Blackness as a political tool. So I think historically, what's kind of cool is that Asian Americans and African Americans realized this in some instances in history and show solidarity in form of labor unions. There were also a lot of African Americans who spoke against the war in the Philippines and war in Vietnam. The civil rights movement, right? A lot of Asian migration to this country was due to the effects of the Civil Rights Act. So we need to be conscious of the history and know how our identities have been politicized and fight against oppression, right? We need to understand how history works to shape the present, and through this understanding, work towards creating a more just future for everyone here. Yo, it's Pierogies and Farockaway. Shout out Anisha and her family from Inspired this song, Let's Go. Yo, yeah man, I walk through life, but I go dance stride. Just took a flight to Lanikai to change the tides. I saw him dying in front of my eyes, still the one that kept him on side to go graduate on time now. Getting rich with the click, who else do you know? Gon' make it look as easy as this. I'm on trips, tripping, international bitches be stripping. Hit a quiz with hits, we smash glass ceilings. I'm swimming high with the tails by my side, little clip 6 digits, and he only 25. Why you act surprised when you put in the time? Stop me, bitch, please, you can go ahead and try like yeah. I said fuck self-down, man, I try and run the world while I try and run the mouse like yeah. I said I goes all out, man, I try to run the world while I try and run the mouse. Cruise to Tokyo, sun face, cause we high class. I got my sight back, so I guess I gotta fight back. Cause I'm still trying to rust in the new shade. I cop change on that new wave. Has to say what change up the wacky. They will hold the flow, so Kochiyama or ganja one spill on my soul. Has to come fast in that afterglow. And that shit look wavy when I count the dough. Whoa, I went from homeless to showbiz. Your common law said you better catch the moment. So sex, drugs, and cocoa puffs got in my moves. Think my audition just made Korean news like yeah. I said fuck self-doubt, man, I try to run the world while I try to run the mouse like yeah. I said I goes all out, man, I try to run the world while I try to run the mouse. Ha!